On the 27th of September 1825, the world changed with the opening of the Stockton Darlington, the first public railway to use steam power. It ran for 25 miles from the collieries around Shildon to the docks at Stockton via Darlington. Later, branches opened to Hagley's, Blackboy, Croft and Yarm, plus an extension to Middlesbrough. At its peak, the Stockton and Darlington had 200 miles of track across County Durham, worked by 160 locomotives. It was taken over by the North Eastern Railway in 1863. The railway was engineered by George Stephenson. Born in 1781 at Wylam, he was made engineman at the age of 18 and paid for his own adult education. Appointed engine wright at Killingworth Colliery in 1811, Stephenson designed his first locomotive, Blucher, in 1814, engineering the Heaton Railway in 1820.
We start at Bridge Road in Stockton. It was here where Stephenson cut the first sod, and the company's chairman, Thomas Meynell, laid the first rail on the 23rd of May 1822.
From left to right, the three buildings on Bridge Street are a coal and limehouse depot, the Railway Tavern, the first railway pub, and the Weigh House, with windows facing in each direction.
After the ceremony, an evening dinner was held here at the Town Hall, attended by 102 people, including proprietors and friends. During the dinner, there were many speeches, including several to Stephenson, and the event was later repeated after the opening of the railway.
After heading out of Stockton and passing Eagles Cliff, the railway reached Oak Tree Junction. A coal and lime depot plus a signal box was situated here, and in 1880 the North Eastern constructed a diversionary route from here to Darlington.
This building is Fighting Cock Station. The original cottage was later converted into a railway lodge, whilst the station itself was rebuilt in 1860, replacing the original structure of 1830. It also served a corn mill, with this section of the line becoming freight only from 1880.
Opposite the station was the Fighting Cocks Inn, used by both passengers and depot workers. During its time in railway use, the building was extended 4 times. Approaching Darlington, the track bed is now a road, but this bridge on Arnold Street still survives with its winged walls, despite being widened 3 times.
Outside Darlington is the famous Skerne Bridge, the oldest railway bridge in the world, still in use today. The original design was to be made out of iron and stone, but following problems with the foundations, this was changed by the directors. Unfortunately, even this change proved to be unsatisfactory, with the original wings removed and the bridge having to be strengthened.
It was in Darlington where the first meeting was held between Edward Pease and George Stephenson on the 19th of April 1821. It was during the meeting that Stephenson pushed for the use of steam power and awarded the job as chief engineer. Pease was born in 1767 and made his money in the wool trade. After the meeting, he commissioned a report into the Stockton and Darlington, with his son Joseph writing the prospectus, aged 19. Not far from Pease's house is the Railway Tavern, one of 3 commissioned in 1826 and designed by John Carter, who worked for the company from 1824 to 28. Completed in 1827, the tavern's licence wasn't granted until 1829.
Despite the company's name, Darlington North Road Station didn't open until 1842. It was designed by John Harris in an Italianate style, with a single-storey train shed. The station master's house was situated on the left-hand side, and the building received several extensions, the last in 1872. When it opened, North Road was effectively split in half, with first-class passengers entering from the west side, while second and third came in from the east side.
Also from 1842 is the lime depot. The lime would have been tipped through trapdoors into bays, where it was collected by carts.
The majority of goods traffic, however, was handled here at the merchandise shed, which had 4 bays and, like the lime depot, road access at a lower level. The building was doubled in 1840 when the clock tower was added, and it remained in use until 1857.
In 1853, the carriage works opened. It had two roads accessed through a central entrance with turntables inside.
Run by Thomas McNavy, the company's engineer and secretary, the work was transferred to York in 1863, with the building remaining in use until 1884.
Hyington is where locomotion was delivered, and the location of the third inn opened in 1827. Just visible below the wooden fence, a small section of the original cobbled platform still survives. The term station wasn't adopted until 1840. It opened 6 days a week and had its own station master and booking office. Hyington also dealt with parcels, coal, lime and stone, all of which was sent to the depot in Darlington.
Originally named Active, locomotion is very similar to an earlier engine, Blucher, built by George Stephenson at his 4th Street Works in Newcastle. She's based on beam engines with 2 cylinders and rods to each wheel set. However, locomotion was the first engine in the world to utilise coupling rods. Reaching speeds of 12 miles per hour, the first train consisted of 12 wagons loaded with coal, another 21 loaded with passengers, and Experiment.
Experiment was the first railway coach, but after the first train became a horse-drawn vehicle. This started on the 10th of October 1825, the fare being 1 shilling. Replaced by another coach express in 1826, more soon followed, named Defiance, Defence and Union, whilst Experiment became a workman's cabin at Brusselton.
As well as coal, several quarries opened along the route, such as this one at Midridge. It fell out of use at the end of the 19th century. However, nearby were 2 coal mines, connected by tramways from the 1870s.
The next station is Shildon, which dates from the railway's opening but has been heavily rebuilt. Next to the station is the signal box of 1887, part of the North Eastern's Central Division. Modified in 1928 and 1984, the buildings on the right are the cottage and weigh house. Shildon is home to the Soho Works, which built both locomotives and stationary engines for the Brusselton Incline. It was established by Timothy Hackworth in 1833, having started as a merchant's warehouse in 1826. Acquired from Hackworth in 1855, the last locomotive left the works in 1871. Used as a paint shop with an underfloor heating system to aid drying, the building was later converted into an engine shed. Hackworth was born in 1786 and had a similar upbringing to Stephenson. His railway career started at Stephenson's 4th Street Works in 1824 and was Master of Ceremonies at the opening of the Stockton and Darlington. His first locomotive was Royal George of 1827. It had 2 cylinders driving the same axle, simple valve gear and a blast pipe, being capable of hauling 100 tons compared to 70 tons by locomotion. Royal George is no longer with us, but one of her descendants is. Number 25 Derwent, constructed at Hopetown in Darlington in 1845 by William and Alfred Kitching. With inclined cylinders and massive dome, she was sold to Pease & Partners at Crook, remaining in service until 1869. Hackworth became the Stockton and Darlington's locomotive superintendent and had his own house paid for by the company. It was one of 4 completed in 1826 in an area known as New Shildon. He relocated to the house in 1831 with his wife and 8 children. Acquired from his estate, the house was given to the works manager William Bouch in 1855 and used as the works manager's house until 1905.
Together with his wife, Hackworth was a devout Methodist and often preached to railway workers. He also employed some 30 preachers and built 2 chapels. This example dates from 1865, whilst the Sunday school was added in 1888. The goods shed at Shildon dates from 1855 and is said to be made using part of the stone sleepers from the 1824 route. It also had a parcels and administration office. Now this ramp to our right was once used for coal, which was dropped into cells, whilst general goods was delivered and dropped off using a side door. Before the goods shed, coal would have been delivered to these drops from the Black Boy Colliery. They date from 1847 and were last used in 1935.
Leaving Shildon, the line passes the Mason's Arms, where locomotion departed with the inaugural train, with Stevenson driving. Ticket could be purchased from here, with rooms rented out for meetings. Brusselton was at the top of the incline from Etherley. The houses were constructed by the railway for workers of the Winding House and their families.
Before the use of wooden sleepers, rails would have been mounted on stone blocks such as these, with an iron mount acting as the chairs. These mounts were originally only held down with 2 pins, but this was later increased to 4 pins, which allowed for less movement of the rails.
Also at Brusselton is this accommodation bridge of 1832, complete with winged walls and coped piers. It also marked the parish boundary between Shildon and Redworth. At West Auckland, the railway crossed the River Gormless on an iron bridge, which was removed in 1901 as trains by then had become too heavy.
And this is that bridge. Completed in 1823, it was the first railway bridge to use iron trusses without the need for bolts or rivets. The original structure had 3 spans, but a 4th was later added after flooding.
Halfway down the incline was another engine house and cottage at North Leazes. Water for the engine would have been supplied by a reservoir, such as this one at Brusselton, fed by springs.
The bottom of the second half of the incline is at Lower Etherley and was actually engineered by Thomas Greener and not Stevenson. It's also, according to the Book of Reference of 1823, the official start of the Stockton and Darlington Railway. There was also a pay office here, the charge being 4p per mile. Just beyond the incline is the site of Witton Park Colliery, the northern extremity of the original Stockton to Darlington route. And with that, we've come to the end of our journey. I hope you've all enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed making it, and if you have, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and feel free to follow me on Instagram, link down below in the description. Take care everyone, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.